morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. And, of course, we have Herb in the house. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? I'm going to have to give me a cool name. Bo, Herb, and the Philly sports guy. Like, I got to step my game up. Like, I've got to do better.
That's fair. That's fair. I got nothing for that.
Now were you expecting me to start this morning?
It really wasn't. Yeah, I didn't. That's one of those you just look that first pitch by. You're just like, oh, okay, it was a fastball down the middle, but I was not ready for that. It's, I'm with you. And, of course, we already got people up in the chat. Welcome in. And so we got a great show for you today. And so our guest, we actually met on the set of a short film where incidentally we were fighting. So that was kind of funny. He has a 5-2 record, winning five straight. And this last one by submission right at the end of January. Busy schedule. Got another fight on the 27th of this month. Ranked number 11th in the pro welterweight out of the Pacific Northwest. The one and only Jonathan Haynes. What's up, brother?
What's up, Bo?
How you been?
Doing good. Yeah. You know what's funny about the Philly guy is there's a fight in Philly. It might do 3 weeks after this fight. So
okay.
Yeah, just checking on that. I need to make sure my body is actually okay. After this fight.
I mean, I was going to save that question for later, but obviously might as well ask it now. Like, how does that work? So you fought on the 30th, right? And then you have another one, the 27th. So you're 7 weeks apart, basically.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Like, is that too quick of a turnaround? Like, what is the shortest turnaround that you can actually get your body right without, going into it kind of beat up?
Oh, you're always kind of beat up.
Well,
so
I mean,
it doesn't matter if I had 6 months. I'm going to go into the fight beat up at some point because you're going to ramp up and go hard. Like right now, this week is the increase in intensity for the fight. So the next 2 weeks I'll be fighting basically, like training will look a lot like actual fighting. And so usually, at a high level, like say UFC, people fight only a few times a year for a reason because people get really beat up in practice and their fights are you're fighting the best guys around. So you're getting injured. This last year I've been very durable and I've been very lucky, fortunate to not have severe injuries, except for this last fight, I broke my nose. So you could say that's a real injury, but I fought.
That's a real injury. It's no fun.
Yeah, for the rest of us, it's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I mean, it was just a broken nose. So,
Well, it was awful. It did suck, but it didn't get moved. So the type of break was the best possible kind of break. It was like a crack. So, there are different levels of severity, but this last year I fought after this fight within maybe just over a year, it will have been my 7th pro fight. And so that's not a normal schedule. And as the level grows, it's probably less likely that I'll be able to do that. But I'm really enjoying about 5 weeks. So about 5 weeks between, I feel like I can rest enough and then make that weight cut again without being horrible. Because I fought in January, December, and November. So.
Oh, wow. And
then prior to that, September. So, it's been working. This next one, though, if I'm to take it, is only 3 weeks away. And so I need to make sure I'm okay. And I need to make sure I can make that weight cut again. Because that's the hardest part. People, fighting is a hard thing to do. Getting yourself mentally prepared to go and fight a man is hard. But when you're starving, the fight seems like it's easy. You're just starving, and it sucks to starve. If anyone has been on a diet, try dieting 7 times in a year. That's awful.
We got the Philly sports guy in the house.
Good morning. I'm not sure where my link went this morning, but I've been up here waiting for it.
Yeah, I had to resend it. It said it sent on my side, so I don't know.
Yeah, but, it lied.
What's up, Philly sports guy?
How are you?
Good.
So I was listening to the show while I wasn't here. So you're gonna do a turnaround that quickly and come out here and fight in 3 weeks?
Maybe.
I guess it
There's a few
He
depends on
things-
how
mentioned
this
off
next
air he
fight
might
goes.
be fighting you. He said he might be fighting you in the 3 weeks after.
Yes.
Hey, listen, I would normally say pack a lunch, but I don't mess with those guys.
No.
Uh,
Yeah, it's possible. With this fight for this organization,
Dang, Raj.
the guy I'm fighting is he's a prospect. So if I beat this guy, the last guy I beat was a prospect too. I was supposed to lose. Basically, I'm supposed to lose both his fights. When I beat him, then I'm going to call for a title shot, which is happening later in the night anyway. So, or the guys at my weight are fighting again. They fought for a title back in November, weird stoppage, and so they're doing a rematch. So after this, I'm going to get the crowd involved and get them the chant title, so then they can give me and try to force their hand to give me a title. If they don't give me a title, then I might just turn around and go to Philly and fight someone out there.
Nice.
Now,
If I'm not hurt, I'm probably hopefully I can just go in and get him out of there. But the longer the fight goes, the more likely I'm going to be banged up all over the place, and hopefully maybe break something. We'll see.
yeah, I was gonna say for that kind of turnaround, you'd need this fight to be short.
Yes. Yeah, I would.
Get in, get out.
Well, you guys, I'm sure have seen the viral Max Holloway point to the ground, like in the center of the cage. Are you guys aware of this?
No.
So there's a guy, Justin Gagey, guy Max Holloway, superstars in UFC, both known for being violent. They fought for a whole new title that UFC started doing a few years ago called the BMF, the baddest MF belt. And at it was a 5-round fight. The last 10 seconds of the fight, one of them pointed at the ground like this, which means be a tough guy and stand and just throw. So let's just throw everything that happened in the last 5 rounds. We're just gonna throw it out. We're just gonna stand in the pocket and throw. And one guy got knocked completely unconscious in the last second of the fight. And so after that, everyone wants to have a viral situation like that happen. So it's been going across MMA where people are pointing at the ground and everyone understands what it means. You stand and bang. And with this guy, I think that my chances might be even better if I do that. So I'm gonna try it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be
just start the fight like that, like just right here and try to do it that way, or
I want to do it that way because I don't want him to wrestle.
Yeah.
I got you.
So if I can force him his ego to make him fight and stay in the center and throw with me, then I like my chances. Then I don't have to worry about the wrestling. So, and then if he doesn't do it, then to the fans and the judges, it looks bad too. So it's like this odd pressure. It's a stupid thing to do. You should never do it.
Right.
But if I can sucker you into it, then I'm trying. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned how intense these things are, and like with the training, how much, especially with shorter turnarounds, how much does your training change based on who your opponent is? And is your training really just like, look, let me get myself ready and I can handle any situation? Or do you have to base it on who's coming up next?
That's like a really good question. People approach it differently. With where I'm at, I've been training for a very long time compared to a lot of the fighters. I'm about to be 34, so I've done this since I'm 18. So with me, I've already built up a large general skill set where fight to fight, and especially with all these like this schedule of fighting almost every 6 weeks or so, there's a lot of it that comes down like based on the guy I'm fighting. So we do a bunch of film study, figure out what he's likely to do, figure out his psychology, figure out what the biggest vulnerabilities are for me with this guy and what the strengths are, and we try to build the camp around that. That said, when it comes to conditioning and like the strength and conditioning and the style as far as like the energy, like training the energy systems right, it's very much very similar. So like we have this thing that we started out in Puyallup called Fight Prep, where we have fighters allowed to come from other gyms and come in and we do very specific training for their fights that are coming up. But week to week, still working on my stand up, still working on, pushing my VO2 max, still working on lots and lots of wrestling, so it's a bit of both for me, especially in a short turnaround though. If it was to be like 3 weeks, it's just, if I were to turn around and fight in 3 weeks, it's just going to be like, let's just recover as much as possible because I'm already ready to fight. The energy's already there. It's just, can we recover? And then maybe a few things here and there, but can't change a lot in 3 weeks,
Yeah. That would just be a lot of film study at that point, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I do a ton of film study before I ever even accept a fight. So I knew who I'm fighting, I
gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like you'd need to, just because fighting styles are so different.
Yeah.
They are. What's funny though is most guys go out there and they just fight their own fight, which we're all trying to do anyway, because that's what comes natural, right? If you sit in there and you're thinking, you're trying to make too much adjustments for a guy that you're not naturally good at. When your heart rate's that high and your stress is that high, your adrenaline's going, good luck. You're a real G if you can actually, implement a game plan and stick to it. Yeah. So, which kind of goes back to the plan at the round. I'm sure he's prepared to wrestle me, but if I can sucker him in, then I've been in fights. I've been in a lot of fights where I can hear their corner yelling out instructions, and they're unable to do them. So sometimes when they're beating me too, like I can hear, I'm like, please don't listen to me. Like get to the back. It's like, no, don't go to the back. Don't go. But you're stuck in the moment, and guys can't, including myself, can't always listen. So yeah, hopefully you do your adjustment. It's really like the beginning of the fight. We do a lot of we call it fight starts. We'll line like 10 guys up, and then I'll be ready, and we'll do the whole fighter, are you ready? Ready, fighter, are you ready? Fight, and then meet for 10 seconds, and we call it, and then we go back, and then over and over and over again to try to build some kind of a habit on how we want to start the fight, because really you don't control anything with this. You go in and you hope. You just go in and hope.
I actually have a ton of questions. So I'm going to start with the very basic. Obviously, when you think of MMA, I think of Dana White, and I think that like he owns it all. And is that really the case? Is my first question. I'm going to follow that up really quickly so that I can have you answer both of these. What kind of money are you getting as an undercard and then as a main card? Because obviously, like everybody thinks that there's millions and millions of dollars in here, and I know that there's not. You know what I mean? I know that you're not making millions of dollars, especially where you're at right now, as an undercard. So I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that. Does Dana White own the MMA world, or are there different segments of it? And what kind of money is really attached to this?
Yeah, good question. Dana, the sport is what it is because of him. As a many times with companies, it's like one CEO or one manager that really takes it somewhere. He took it to the max, and because of that, when you think of MMA, if I tell people I do MMA, most people are a little confused. If I say I do that UFC stuff, everyone knows what I mean. So that's a company that has eclipsed a sport. You know what I mean? So Dana does, he doesn't own it all, but he's got he's the NFL, so sure, there's other leagues beneath, but everyone's still trying to get to the UFC. They're still trying to get to the NFL. Right. So yeah, he does own it all, and then there's organizations overseas, which are maybe bigger, maybe like an NFL over somewhere else, but they're all still fighting to get to the UFC. One for the respect, and because if you fight for the UFC, that's the highest. So even if you could be paid more than the UFC would pay you somewhere else, it's still worth more to get to the UFC. I would think, unless you're, I'd be very surprised if someone's making more money somewhere else. As far as the money goes, Yeah, I'm not making that much money at this, until you get to the UFC or until you get to a really a competitor of the UFC, which really is like second string. You're not even making a living. You're having to do other things. On a card like this, undercard guys, we're making like $1,500, $2,000 to fight and then double it to win, something like that. As you get higher on these undercards, right, the money goes up. If you're viral, if you're a big social media guy, then I'm sure you can make even more money. But ultimately, you're not really gathering a huge following that's going to be worth a lot of money to a promotion, as an under guy. Even the title fights on this card, who one guy's fought like 40 times. This guy I'm trying to fight. He's fought like 40 pro fights. He's fought for huge organizations over in ONE FC or over in Asia. I'd be surprised if he's making more than like 5 and 5. I'd be shocked if he's even making 5,000 and 5,000 just for this title fight, right? So that's another reason everyone wants to get to UFC, because you might start with 10 and 10, but even that's not great, because you have to pay taxes, you have to pay for all the camp fees, all the things that you're doing to try to get to the fight. So yeah, not a ton of money.
And at your age, I mean, 34 sounds old to me now in any athletic sport. So
yeah.
I'm like 53, so it's not like I'm trying to. But like at 34, I'm saying, wow, you are. You kind of got into this. You said you've been doing it since you're 18, but it sounds like you've only been competing here for a little while. And where are you in the brackets in terms of your age? Are you going up against younger guys most of the time, or is it that you need to mature into your body and into the skills that you have, and that's really what defines you as a fighter in this, in comparison to being like a Mike Tyson, who just had that raw brute strength when he was younger, who could just go in there and knock somebody out really quickly?
Yeah, another solid question. So through time, and also the sport it's about 30 years old, or 35 years old now. As far as like actually, that's like the first UFC was 1992. And so for a long time, if you're placing bets, you place it on the younger fighter, because statistically the younger fighter wins. That's been the case. There's several reasons why. One, we all have holes and we have like vulnerabilities, and what young guys do is they fight how they drive. They just take chances, and it pays off. So they go for it. Also, they have better conditioning typically, because as you get older, you get tired. You just get tired. And then the other side is that you get injured easier too. So there's a lot of reasons why. I'm older for where I'm at, and I'm older historically. That said, the last few years, when UFC just really exploded, COVID actually helped it out. It like doubled in value, because they came back first before all the other sports. They came back during COVID because they went over to the Middle East and started doing fights there. During that time, there's been a shift where, if you look at the like UFC champions, so we're going to talk about the UFC a lot because it's the NFL, it's the prime, right? The average age of champions has actually continued to go up. So like now, I think there might be one fighter that's a UFC champion who's in his 20s. I think there's one. All of the rest are 30s. And interestingly enough, they're later 30s. So when you talk about maturing into your body, that's one part of it. And when you're talking about the psychological, like bringing it all together and handling the pressure, that's something that we're seeing. I'm making an assumption here, but I think that's because of the age, because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to go and do this, and younger guys just don't do as well at that. And then every once in a while, you get like a Conor McGregor, a John Jones, someone like Mike Tyson, that they can just handle it. But even he, struggled with the law, he struggled as a young man, thrust into this crazy thing that we're doing. with all the, and then if you do burst into the scene at such a young age, then now all of a sudden you start making a lot of money. Young men aren't very good with their money. So there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen with younger athletes. With me, I have not fought someone my age, so everyone I'm fighting has been, like you're saying, like I've actually been taking out a bunch of young 20 guys, young and mid 20s, which is a risk in some ways. And I've been picked to lose all 7 fights. I have lost the first 2, but all 7 I've been picked to lose, by a large margin. but because of that, I believe that the strength that I've got is a psychological component, right? And there's also something to be said about old man strength. It's a real thing.
Oh yeah.
You can take a young athlete, they might be able to put up huge numbers in a bench press or a squat or something like that. But when you grab a hold of another guy and then you twist them, I've gone against a bunch of D1 guys, like D1 football players, who come in and train, and then you twist them a little bit and they fall apart. So it's odd. It's odd to me that it takes longer for the body to really set in, like the strength of a guy to actually set in. And that has to do with, this is a theory of mine, but the time under the influence of testosterone, right? It's like some guys in their young 20s, they've only had testosterone for like 10 years. You know what I mean? Like if you think about puberty and then, you're 22, 23, you're really strong and athletic, but it's not the same as someone that's had testosterone for 20 years,
Yeah, I mean, functional strength and gym strength are definitely different. There is no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, across sports, since you guys are commenting on this all the time, have you seen a trend like that as well? Or have you noticed something like that? Or is it still, the young 22 to 23-year-old? Like, what do you think, if you were to say the actual peak performance years are, not just athletics, not just like who's the fastest or who's the strongest, but for performing, what ages would you guys say? I think probably the best is, this age.
It kind of depends on how it is you're looking at it, because if you're looking at it from the physical standpoint, then you're looking at mid-20s, right? You've started to fill out. You're probably the peak of your speed and athletic ability, 25, 27, kind of round in there. But if you're talking about overall grasp of the game, and of course I'm referencing football here, you get to 30, you may not necessarily be quite as quick as you were in your mid-20s, but you're way smarter about how you go about it. So you kind of have 2 different peaks when you're playing in some of these sports. Now, the brain, you hope, comes around before the body falls apart, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, like in my playing career, I was done at 30. That was it. And so was I better at picking my spots towards the end of my career? No question. But, I just wasn't quite as I wasn't quite as fast. And so all of a sudden I got to a spot where I could start getting beat on a double move because I just couldn't quite turn the same way. And, so then you're like, okay, it's probably time to call it good. But so, you kind of have 2 different peaks depending on the sport you're playing. I think baseball, you can play a lot longer, right? Less physical in that way. But like a sport like yours, I would imagine that it's kind of similar to football in that way, that you probably have a physical peak and then you have a mental peak.
Right.
I
could also.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, just real quick on this one. I also think you probably pay way more attention to your body and how you keep it up in the off season than a lot of these guys. I think a lot of their peaks happen sooner because they're just kind of coasting on their athleticism and whatever. But you'll look at like a Derrick Henry who, Thanksgiving Day was like, no, I'm not going to eat any of this cake. I'm paying really attention. Those guys' peaks are longer. And I think for you, it's also a case of like, you probably pay attention, a lot more to where your peak would actually be later versus some of these guys who are like, I went out Friday before the game, still came in Saturday and played because, I'm 28 and it's great. And they reach 31 and they haven't done any of that kind of stuff. And so their peak hits sooner. So I think for you, you're probably in a better position than most people because you pay attention to that.
Well, you
kind
mean
of see that across sports too.
Gummy bears aren't fruit salad. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm just making suggestions.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it is funny because I've actually been like I weight cut with my opponent one time, that's weird, but we were using the same place, and so I was like, all right, so we just hung out and talked, and I was talking to him, and he was a wrestler who he wrestled in college at Division III, so it's not the same, but he'd been wrestling, and he's like, we talked about what we're gonna eat afterwards, and everything he said, I was like, that's bad for so many reasons, like even eating whole foods, like after you've completely squeeze all the water out of your body, eating things like that are high in fat or high in fiber right afterwards makes it so you can't reabsorb the water, and he was planning to go to the buffet, which he did, and the next day or even after the fight, he accused me of steroids because he's like, hey, you didn't get tired. It's like, yeah, dummy, I ate right. You didn't. You think you ate healthy foods, but there's a science to this. So yeah, I think you're right, Herb. And I think this is true. The older you get, you start looking for those little 1% adjustments. You're not as willing to just fall back on, well, I'm just a demigod over here. I can just do whatever I want. You're like, when I eat poorly, I have worse practices. When I sleep bad, then I have worse performance. So I think that's right too. Another thought too is it's sports that are really like you said you played corner and then linebacker, right, Bo?
Yeah. So in arena, I was essentially a linebacker. Yeah.
So when you have I think a very specialized, like a sport, you're running and cutting, right? Reading, running, and cutting. That's so hyper specialized compared to what I do, which is there's so much more things that you have to that I have the option of submitting or wrestling or punching or kicking. There's so many options. Whereas with that, and that's it, right? Yep. I think that's probably also more dominated by the speed and the youth, if they're paying attention and actually working on being skilled, right? Right. So I think that's probably true too.
You can't teach speed, right? So as soon as the speed starts to wear off, there's somebody younger coming behind you that hasn't lost it yet.
Right. Yeah. If they are good at the game, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where you end up seeing guys that do make some positional shifts, right? So sometimes you'll see a corner that will move to like a free safety position because now they don't necessarily have to stick with the guy. There's a lot more zone style coverages, and you can do that a little bit longer, right?
Okay.
So sometimes you'll see shifts like that, but yeah, if you got somebody coming behind you that hasn't lost any speed, and the drop off mentality isn't very big, you're out of a job.
Yeah, that's true too. I think you can. I actually talk about this because I coach as well, and I love this game, so I'm in most aspects of it or most parts of it. And I talk about when you're building your skills and you're trying to figure out like what's your identity going to be as a fighter. If you rely on speed, you're done earlier. You see this you can even think of like greats like Anderson Silva or Chuck Liddell. You guys remember Chuck Liddell?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
If you watch all of his knockouts, if you were to do them in slow motion, many times the other guy's fist is here, and then his is landing, right? And then as he got older, their fist was here and his was right there. He was getting hit and he was just barely missing. So it's a game of just a small difference in speed, and that was it because he relied on speed. So then there's fighters who like a Dan Henderson, I don't know or Randy Couture, who they used strength more than speed, and they fought a lot longer. They were some of these guys that actually could make it into their 40s and still compete at the highest level, like the very highest level. Now we're talking about exceptions, but if your fighting style also can allow you to fight longer if you spend the time to develop it. But if all of a sudden you're older and then you're trying to change the way you fight, well, it's probably too late because you need several years of working on something for it to really be able to perform when it's time. Yeah.
Well, and that goes into one of my next questions for you is that
Perfect.
I'm a big motivation guy. I listen to motivational, I have different motivational quotes around me all the time, stuff like that. At your age, and how is it that you continue to stay motivated for these fights? Because I tell you, after a while, getting hit in the face is gonna, I'm done. I'm just done with this. I've lost my interest in just getting punched in the face all the time. How does it that you keep your motivation up to be able to continue with this? Like I said, 34 is still a young man, so it's not like you're very old, but there's got to be some level of motivation that keeps you going back to this and wanting to still be the best and wanting to still compete in this, in this sport.
Yeah. This kind of multifaceted, but I will say that 2 years ago, I remember there was a practice when I'm getting I had a bad day starting out. So when you get up, you're like, ugh, it's like sludge, like great.
Yeah, I call that the morning.
Yeah.
So I'm in there and I've got this D1 wrestler, and this is just a practice, right? And usually we're going at each other. We're fighting, and it's a back and forth. It's a hard fight. The whole practice is gonna be awful, right? Because it's back and forth, but it's just exhausting. And the warm up round, he is dominating me, and he gets on top of me, and like a mount, so his legs are either side of my legs, right? And we have shirts on because it's practice, and I'm getting waterboarded with his sweat, and I was like, I didn't have the toughness in me that day. And I was sitting there and I said, hey, man. And he's like, huh? I was like, just not the shirt. Like, don't smother me. And he goes, what? I was like, don't smother me. Like, like I broke. You know what I mean? And as a younger guy, I never would have broke. Like, you can't make me quit at anything. But tell you what, I was sitting there like, why am I doing this? Why am I I'm breathing through another guy's sweaty shirt? What am I doing? And so as I've gotten older, those thoughts happen more. But it's for me, it hasn't been the fights, like the actual performing. Although there's always a moment like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? That those thoughts happen, but I think those happen at every age. But the training is harder to stay motivated to do, because it's like, oh, do I really want to go and do this? I could just be relaxing, I could just, which oddly enough, as I'm climbing, because the climb is starting now for me, right? I was competing when I was younger. Then life took me away from competing for a while. Then I decided to come back. Then I lost. So I'm like, okay, well, this is just purely for the love of the game, because I have no chance at going anywhere with this, because of my age and because I just started out with 2 losses, right? But now that I'm winning, and I'm building something and taking out prospects, now I have a chance again, right? But I had already made the decision that this is just for the love of the game. The motivation is it's just for the love of it, And I think if you love something, it's a lot easier to pay the cost to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think as many people love it. I think a lot of people like the idea of the fame if they were to get it. They like the idea of the respect that they get from other men, or it's not. I say other men because women don't actually care about this at all. So it's like those bodybuilders that get real buff. They think that a bunch of people they're attracted to are going to come and reach out to them, but instead it's just all your buddies. You know what I mean? It's a similar thing. But yeah, the motivation to do this is hard and can be hard each time. But knowing that there's another professional fighter who's planning and preparing to whoop my ass in a month or so,
yeah,
that's pretty motivating to do the workouts. So it's not too hard when I have his picture posted everywhere. So I'm seeing him. He's watching me constantly, right? So every time I want to not go do the thing, and I look at him, I go, this young guy's coming for me. I'm like, all right, let's go do the thing.
Well, yeah, because he's coming ready to go, whether you're ready to go or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make sure you're there. I mean, I guess that brings me to my next question: is what's the process look like going from getting into it and then going from amateur to pro? Like, what's that process look like?
I think that's different for everyone. Becoming a professional starts regional, so no one really, I mean, you care about regional. We care about regional because we're here, but no one cares about you for a while. You got to get out of the regional scene. So I used to think that they're very similar, a fight's a fight, but fighting professionally, the psychology is different. So I found that, instantly, as soon as there's money on the line, these people are really serious, and there's high consequence in either way, but like you can knee the head, you can throw elbows. There's a lot more damage that happens as a professional. And so the process here looks like, you fight first you do these things called smokers, which are like scrimmages. You get into fights that don't even go on any record anywhere. Usually there's not even a winner announced. It's like just me and you mixing it up. Then you do an amateur fight. You actually have wins. Then if you to go from that to a pro fight, it's just a choice. Like you could just go fight a professional fight. You could just go take one if you can get a promoter or a matchmaker to put you in. But if you don't have the skill set, then and you go and you get whooped, then you're probably not going to get another opportunity. So it's a little different for each person. I think the real hard jump is from fighting professionally to fighting on for organizations that people care about. That's the hard part. That's where everything. So like getting the UFC to pick you up. That's the hard part. That's how does it happen? The right people, the right everything.
Yeah, and I understand a little bit about that. As funny as this sounds, I used to be a professional arm wrestler, which
cool.
means that I arm wrestled against real professionals. And, it's one thing to be a good arm wrestler and I can beat anybody in the bar. It's another thing to actually put your, money where your mouth is. So I understand that completely. It's just like there's the level is so much higher than, hey, I'm good at fighting and I'm a street brawler and I would love to go jump in the MMA and test my skills. And you find out very quickly that you don't have any.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because when people watch fighting, probably like arm wrestling too, people are like, oh, I could do that, because at the high level they make it look easy because they're good at it, but it's not easy. No one's good at it when they start. Right. You can be a super athlete, you can be really mean. Those things are kind of like the genetic lottery, right? But it takes a long time to get good at this.
Well, I mean, of course, a lot of people are like, oh, I could do that because they're also half a dozen beers into the night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, liquid courage will get you in some fights. Unfortunately for them, they're probably not fighting a professional fight either. They're just mixing it up with another drunk person.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fortunate. I used to work at a bar as security, and yeah, it's pretty fun to watch.
Well, and that becomes another thing. So now that you're like trained in this type of stuff in social settings, when somebody wants to test their mettle, as I call it, whether it's intoxicated or not, how is it that you don't have all of your natural instincts kick in and destroy this guy who's really going over and above? Because it's not. I never expect somebody's coming up to try to pick a fight with you unless it's staged. You know what I mean? That it's trying to build some momentum for an upcoming fight. When you're out there, you might be with your girl or doing your thing, and then somebody wants to just be ridiculous. How is it that you hold yourself back from beating that guy up?
Well, I mean, there's lots of there's consequences. So I don't want to go to jail. Yeah, my freedom matters more than this guy's ego, right? But sure, there's the instinct of like kind of like, how dare you, you idiot, But largely I haven't found an issue with that. Now I have self-control. I think there's some people either they get caught they get caught up because they're young stupid men who do this, and a lot of men that fight are stupid. So it's kind of a stupid thing to do.
Right.
But it's just like with if some guy at a party started talking to you about whatever your something that way more than them, and it's obvious to you, and they start like trying to get your goat, it might be irritating, but you also can ask just a few questions probably and be like, this guy's I can wipe the floor with him. So it doesn't really get you the same. It's more just irritating, right? I'd imagine.
I figure you just look at the ears. You're like, has this guy actually been in some fights? No, okay. Like
that actually benefits me a lot. This actually has stopped a lot of people from doing stuff. They will comment on the ear.
Yeah.
So I've got both, but this is the worst one. And that actually happened recently. This guy followed me. He followed me because he thought I cut him off. And then I stopped and he got out of his car and I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, you cut me off. And he got all emotional. And I was like, hey man, do you want to change your mind? And he's like, yeah, I see your ear. I was like, okay, cool.
Maybe you didn't cut me off. Maybe, maybe I cut you off. I don't know.
I cut behind you.
Yeah, I don't, hey, stuff happens.
Well, I was like, are you sure? Are you like, I know the consequences of this sucks. We could get hurt. Do you want to risk that? No? Then, let's just not do this. And so it's not that hard. Actually, it's annoying, but it's not that hard to walk away from fights with people that are untrained.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't want to see a whole bunch of people. Like I said, you were used to be a bouncer at a bar. I can imagine that. Most of the time you're just putting them in a hold and escorting them outside.
Yeah, I had to pick one guy up actually because he was throwing punches, and I just lifted him up over my head, and he goes, "Put me down." I said, "I'll put you down, but you're gonna stop." He's like, okay. I was like, okay. he was pretty buff, so he thought that helped. But then when he was in the air, he decided it wasn't. Yeah. So I didn't have to like really do much besides just contain him. And when I was as a bouncer, it wasn't I never had to hit anybody. And no one actually ever hit me either. So it's pretty easy to just come up behind him, talk quietly to him. Hey man, most of us, even when we're emotional, if someone were to just be a little bit like calm with you and listen to you for a second, usually we're like children. When you get emotional, you're like a child. Just walk up, hey buddy, how you doing?
What you doing, Buckaroo?
Yeah. You want me to get you? I'll buy you another beer. How about we just like move over here to this part of the bar, and so yeah, it's not that hard.
And I mean, obviously, since you're here, you got to plug your gym. Like, where are you fighting out of? And let everybody know that type of stuff.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so I train and coach at Fitness Quest in Puyallup, Washington. There's 3 Fitness Quest locations. We have a University Place. We have an Auburn location at the Outlet Collection, which I still think of as the Super Mall. Have you been there?
No, you said Auburn, and I'm Alabama, and that's as far as for me. There's nothing else. There's no personal, nothing else in there. Like only my part of the country will get that. Everybody else, like, what is he talking about? Like,
that's right, wrong Auburn.
Wrong Auburn.
There's a lot of Auburns. I don't know why, but anyway.
We don't know why either.
Yeah. And my gym is actually the Auburn location has a really robust, huge MMA program where they've got kids karate, they got kids jiu-jitsu, they got wrestling, they got taekwondo, they got boxing. They have this huge complex and a ton of different things. Mine in Puyallup is it's small. It's actually built around me, and we have some like classes for to teach fighting, to teach jiu-jitsu. So the same thing. We offer everything as well. But when it comes to the competitive, like professional fighters, there's just a few of us, very specialized, like hand-picked people. And that's where so for the fighting, for professional fighting, I'm out of Puyallup, Washington, but I go and I train at all the different Fitness Quest locations, and it's pretty cool. Great facility.
I like that right after he's like, boo, Auburn, you're like, it is our hallmark location.
It is. It is. Well, actually, the University Place location is super nice. The Puyallup location is also super nice. It feels great because it's like it's not a physically big location, but it's really like state of the art. And then the Auburn location is massive. I don't know. You probably haven't been there, but it's probably, they probably have like maybe 10,000 square feet, maybe of floor space. Like it's huge. Big mats. They got they have a cage. They actually put on fights there. Local amateur kind of entry level fights, but no, it's great. So yeah, I'd encourage anybody who's thought about training, just for fitness, come on down.
Right.
We got whatever you're interested in, we've got it.
So then let me ask this question: Are there guys? I mean, I'm over 50 years old, so like, are there guys that are coming there that are my age or maybe even a little bit younger that are like, hey, listen, I've never fought before in my life. I am interested in trying to do some workouts or things like of that nature, and thought maybe this could be the way to go.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of guys that their life didn't go. They didn't become a professional fighter, but they've been interested, and it's a fun way to get in shape. It's a great way to get in shape. Lifting weights, it's so boring. You know what I mean? But you can go and there's a lot of guys in their 40s, some in their 50s, a lot of guys in their 30s, a lot of just like even families that will sign up and sign up together. And just to get in shape, just to have a good time, just to be around it too, because you might be interested, but you got a business to run. You have your own family, you have your own stuff. So yeah, just like with most fitness gyms, you could go and you could hire a personal trainer. You could do that. Or you could hire a personal trainer who can also teach you how to like throw punches, wrestle around a little bit, get a little bit of self-defense, build some confidence in your body and what happens in a real encounter. Because usually even just a little bit of training, just a little bit, then you'll win those situations, right? Should you be put in them, especially like when it comes to even the situational awareness around just angling, like knowing someone's coming at you and knowing just how to take an angle and to take the advantage. Most people don't have any idea. And so, yeah, at every age, there's training that can be done. Actually, Jake Swartz. So the Fitness Quest, they're all owned by the Swartz family. The father is Brad Swartz. He's a 24-time national champion for wrestling, and he's in his 60s, still competing on a world stage. He came back he competed, I think it was December or November, at Worlds over in Poland, and he's an 8-time world champion for wrestling. And so the Swartz family, specifically Jake as well, who coaches me down in Puyallup, his mission is to make wrestling accessible to all ages. Where you think wrestling and you think you're getting injured, getting hurt, but just like jiu-jitsu, there's people every age that do jiu-jitsu because you can tailor it to the age and to the person's goals, whether it's fitness, or learning about it. Someone in their 50s could easily come down and get you set up with like a program like for you, based on what you want. If you're interested in punching things, then we can show you how to punch things. If you're not interested in punching, you're like, I don't want to get punched in the face. I'm not even interested in hitting pads or hitting heavy bag or something. You just want to learn some, like, how do I like grab somebody and like lift them up, or how do I throw somebody? You got that too. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
And of course, you got a fight coming up on the 27th. So, I mean, we got to talk a little bit about that. What do you see from this guy? Like you said, he's young. He's 3-0 coming into this. Mm-hmm. And also, where can people watch the fight?
Yeah. So he actually trains with Hamzat Chimaev. So he's got a big name. That's the current UFC world champion at 185. I think he's from San Diego or down there, but now I think he's training in Vegas. It's gonna be a banger. Like as I said, I'm probably gonna point at the ground. We're gonna swing. He goes for a knockout. I go for the knockout or the beat down, and so it's likely to be a finish. It's likely to be very exciting. It's likely to be high octane from the jump. If you want to watch, you can watch it on UFC Fight Pass. It's streamed to UFC Fight Pass, and then it'll live there forever afterward, right? I think UFC Fight Pass is like $20 a month or something like that for like as a subscription. But if people want to watch, it's in Sacramento. So for all the people that are listening from Sacramento, it's at the Hard Rock Casino and Hotel in Sacramento in Wheatland. Great location, great organization for A1 Combat. Which, do you guys remember Uriah Faber?
Yep.
You know his name? So A1 Combat is his promotion. And they've already put, within 30-something pro fights, they've already put like, or pro events, they've already put like 15 guys into UFC. So it's a real,
nice.
It's a real good feeder, I win this fight, I'm going to call it the title. I win that fight, maybe defend it once, and then UFC should be calling. Right. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a war, guys. It's going to be a war. It's one of those fights where I'm not sure I will win, but I expect to win.
Right.
At this level, if it goes if we fight in my style, I'll win. If we fight in his, I won't. Sometimes there's a matchup where it's like this guy needs to trip on something to lose. It's not one of those. This is going to be probably an absolute war.
Yeah.
So
how much?
So when you guys are like, what is his specialty in the ring?
Yeah. So unfortunately, he's good at everything.
Okay.
Yeah, he's his specialty is striking, I'd say, but he comes from a sambo background, so he can grapple. He's got some wrestling. He's got good wrestling, but I think of him more as a jiu-jitsu guy. He'll fight off his back. But he's a left-handed, so he's southpaw, and he likes to fight from distance. So he likes to explode in. And he's 21. So you talk about like taking risks. Takes a lot of risks. He like jumps in with big flashy moves. So like flying knees, spinning elbows, spinning wheel kicks, putting punches together. Same with his takedowns. He like tackles and like leaps and like throws his body. My style is very much put my hands on you and then start doing damage. We call it damage stacking. It's not like an MMA term, although it could be, where throughout the fight I'm chipping away at your ribs, chipping away at your ears. I'm elbowing you, putting lots of knees into the gut, lots of low kicks, lots of things where over time you're going to be beat up. And so people start out a fight here and then through rounds with me, their performance just goes down and down and down, and then I finish them.
Death by 1,000 cuts. I got you.
Yeah. So typically that's how the fights have been going is I'm slowest in the first, and then I don't as the fight goes on, I'm winning until I finish him. So this fight's going to look like he's going to explode over and try to put me away right away. He's gotten, since fighting in America, because he's also done like 100 Sambo fights. Since fighting in America, he's gotten all first round finishes. So I think he's going into it thinking he's going to take me out that way. And I think he's also kind of backed himself into a corner where he has to, because the pressure is on for him to do that. And so I'm going to meet him with I'm just going to meet him with violence. And then when I don't go away, I think it's going to psychologically break him. So that's the plan. And if he doesn't break, then it'll just be a war until one of us falls. So.
Yeah, because I can imagine. I'm sorry. I can imagine that if he's watching this interview and he's like, "Well, there's no way that I'm going to listen to him pointing to the center, because there's no point for me to do that. I am the younger. I'm going to have more stamina.
Yeah.
I'm going to have more move. Why would I want to?" unless my ego is so strong that I think I could bang with this guy, which I think doesn't even make any sense. You just have naturally more mass than he does just because of your age. Like there's just more, more strength behind everything that you're doing. It would almost be ridiculous for him to take that strategy or just be like, oh, I'm going to bang with this guy just because I think I can do that.
Although you did say that he's a striker, so he may take up that challenge.
I think he's going to do it, guys. In his interviews, he's been talking a lot about knocking me out. So
hey,
I don't think
a swing for that.
Yeah.
I don't think that he, even if you watch this and I told him what my strategy is, I don't think he's going to care. I think he's got that youth godlike complex where he's like, I'm the chosen one and this is how it's going to go. And so I think I'm going to get what I asked for. We'll see.
Awesome.
We'll see. And then the other thing too is that I can force the fight because where I'm best is putting people on their back foot. So if I've got you going backward, I'm really good at that. And I'm a real pain if you don't come forward. So I can, even if he wants to try to stay away, I'm going to fly across the cage, and he's going to have to deal with it now. Think like if you follow boxing, the pressure fighters, like many of the great Mexican fighters, they swarm. They're in your face and they're going. So even if you're like, if you remember Maidana fought Mayweather, and you could argue that Maidana won that fight, and he just stayed in his face and made him fight him. That's going to be the game plan here.
Nice.
Makes sense. And of course, that hour flies by. We are at the top of the hour. So let people know where they can find you on things like social media, so they can kind of follow your path. And obviously, they're going to try and watch the fight if they can. But updates as far as your careers, how it's going.
Yeah, thanks. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Threads. On Instagram, it's JONHANES, so John Haynes II, because I'm the second. And on Facebook, it's Jonathan Haynes. Yeah, you can tune in, post a decent amount, not too much to be annoying. And but you'll see, but you can find all of my fights, everything coming up there. And then again, if you have UFC Fight Pass, A1 Combat 34 on March 27th. I believe it starts at 6 p.m. Pacific time. I think I'm going to be the second or third fight on the main card. So I have maybe 5 or 8, something like that. It should be like a third fight.
Awesome. And of course, sticking with the theme of fighting and aggressiveness, if you're listening on the radio, we do have some smooth jazz headed your way coming up. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. We actually have a photographer from USA Today for sports photography. Otherwise, we're going to get out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Apparently, talking's hard right at the end of the show. And take it easy, everybody.
Hey, thanks, guys. Nice to meet you guys.